Welcome to episode 3 of Animals, Nature, and You. And this is kind of a special episode. It's our first. It'll be a two-parter. So part 1 comes out today and part 2 will come out tomorrow. Now, if you're listening to this in the future, both parts are already out. The special thing about episode 3, though, it does represent the last interview of our launch week. So this week we launched with our first episode on Tuesday. Another one came out on Wednesday. This one comes out on Thursday. Part 2 comes out on Friday. Once we get going, though, after this week, every Thursday, a brand new episode, brand new interview will be available for you every single week. And I want to remind you, too, these episodes are available on YouTube as well. And the links, of course, are in the episode descriptions wherever you might be listening to this podcast. So with that said, as you probably know from the title, this one's about cheetahs. And I'm really excited for this interview because Janet, well, I've known her since college, but after college, we went different directions, and then we reconverged back here in San Diego, and she has always impressed me with her ability to read animals, to read people, to work with both so well. And the work she's doing now is really incredible when it comes to cheetah conservation, but we will get into that in the interview. I want to do a quick introduction here. I'm going to read her bio for you just so you have an idea of who she is and her background. So with more than 30 years of experience as a cheetah trainer, wildlife educator, and conservation advocate, Janet Rose-Hinostroza brings a lifetime of professional achievement to Cheetah Outreach Trust USA, which is who she's with now. She's a graduate of the Moorpark College Teaching Zoo, which is where we first met many moons ago. She won Best Show Person, an honor basically recognizing the excellence in communicating, training skills, and public engagement. All these come together, and that was acknowledged all the way back in college. After Moorpark, Janet began what she calls a defining chapter in her story. She started a mentorship under Catherine Hilker, becoming a lead cat trainer for the Cincinnati Zoo's Cat Ambassador program. This role launched a dedicated career with cheetahs that led to opportunities for her to work with conservation teams in Africa. And I have to tell you, we'll talk more about how she found herself in this very interesting position to have that mentor, to be in that lead position. In 2002, Janet joined the San Diego Zoo, where she was part of an innovative approach for public education, and this resulted basically in what we know now as Cheetah Run at the Safari Park, the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. That started in 2003, and she'd been a part of it for quite a long time. This experience allowed countless visitors to witness the speed and charisma of the cheetah up close, along with the interpretive skills and education skills of those that worked with those cheetahs, including Janet. In a leadership role at the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, Janet was sent to the United Arab Emirates to basically help advance training and care for cheetahs there, which then extended her impact that much further. And that's really what it's been about for a lot of the people I know, and I know Janet as well. It's been about basically connecting people and wildlife, and that's something we're going to talk about more as well. Over the decades, Janet has built extraordinary relationships with wildlife, using those bonds to help inspire, create curiosity, and also respect for the wildlife she works with in all the people that she meets. Janet has shared wildlife stories with thousands, whether they're intimate educational areas around different zoos that she's worked in, or even full-size stadiums or national television shows, such as Conan O'Brien or Live with Kelly, which I might have seen her on that as well, and a wide variety of many more, including the Animal Planet show we worked on together as well. And with that awesome and awe-inspiring career, Janet is now working with Cheetah Outreach Trust USA. Her role, her goal, and everything she does there is to inspire more meaningful human-animal connections for a better future for cheetahs and cheetah conservation. With all of that said, and there's so much to dig into, Janet, I want to just take a quick moment, too, to say thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
As we heard in the intro a little bit about you and your experience with working specifically, we're talking about today cheetahs, but you have big cat experience across the board. But before we get into all the details of these amazing cats and your knowledge around them, I want to ask, because I know we have listeners that are either in high school or even younger, looking at ways of working with wildlife or ways of getting into nature conservation. What was your path? What got you started into this amazing career of working with these gorgeous cats?
I love to talk about that. And it's a really common question I get because it started for me as a young person, like so many kids who loved animals, right? And I had a house cat that was very dear to me that used to get me in trouble at school all the time because it would follow me to school and it would sneak into the classroom and get inside my desk.
Oh,
So that kind of went on to, what do you do with this love of animals? And it seemed like the obvious answer. And for so many people, it is, oh, you have to become a veterinarian.
Hmm.
That is the professional thing that you do if you love animals. And that's certainly a fantastic profession and much needed and wonderful of people that can have the grit to get through that entire program and training and schooling and hands-on work and then do that profession day in and day out. It's huge. However, as I got older, I realized there were these other opportunities. And the main way that I figured that out was going to a facility that no longer exists that was called Marine World Africa USA.
I remember, yes.
Yeah, I'm a Northern Californian natively. And so as a young person, I went to Marine World Africa USA and I would walk in and I would see people walk tigers on a leash. And I went, oh, that's what I'll do. I will walk tigers on a leash. There it is. It's a job. And I can't tell you how many times in my profession at the Cincinnati Zoo, at SeaWorld, at San Diego Zoo, Safari Park, that I had guests do the same thing to me. Come up to me while I'd be walking a cheetah through the park and say, if I had known that this was an option, that this could have been a profession, I would have been you. And I get that because when you see it, it becomes tangible. Oh, it's a thing. I can do it.
Right.
So I was lucky to have that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the era in which you and I grew up offered a different opportunities that no longer exist, and perhaps rightfully so in certain areas. Uh,
Sure.
when you first manifested that, like you were able to actually have your first job working with big cats, what was that like for you?
Oh, I mean, there's so many things along that path, from looking at somebody walking a tiger on a leash to saying, I'm going to do that. How do you actually do that? So I was lucky enough to meet somebody in high school that told me, well, there's this animal school, right? There's this college where there's a zoo on the campus. It's called Moore Park College Exotic Animal Training and Management Program, which today we know is America's teaching zoo. And I went, oh, okay, great. So again, luck falls into my lap. Somebody tells me about this thing. And, back in those days, it wasn't like you just hopped on the internet and got to see it. Like I had to go to a library and try to find out, what is this Moore Park College? What is this thing? And I actually saw this little televised clip of the man who started the program, Bill Brisby, in a classroom with a lion in the classroom walking around the desks of the students while they were doing their assignments. And the lion happened to be Chad, which happened to be the first wildcat I ever got to train.
Mhm.
So that was so mind blowing. Because again, go back to me as a little kid in my elementary school getting in trouble for my house cat coming into the classroom. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is where I need to go to school, where the lion's walking around the classroom and it's totally okay. It's part of the process. So, yeah, luckily someone told me about Moore Park and I saw that as a direction. And then even getting into Moore Park, when I saw that, oh, well, they only accept 50 students a year. How am I going to stand out? Now, sure, I had tried to carve my way of loving animals and investing myself in having the opportunity to build professional skills there. So for me, back in those days, in the 80s, I worked in pet stores, I worked in malls commonly. I got a lot of experience. Things came fast and furious. You didn't know, and you're jumping in there, and there are these birds and reptiles that people don't even know what the species were, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, got to figure this stuff out quickly and take care of these animals. They're entrusted to us, and that's a huge responsibility that I took seriously. And then I had Canine Companions for Independence was another organization very well respected in my hometown. So I worked as an assistant dog trainer, but I still knew where is this exotic? I really felt like I had to have this exotic attachment. And so where was I going to get it? And so reptiles were real in the late 80s, early 90s. Herpetology and that interest seemed to
Mhm.
really kind of take off. So I worked for a place called South Bay Aquatics, which also doesn't exist anymore in Northern California. And at, the ripe old age of 19, they made me the manager of the reptile department. And so I got to handle lot of different exotic snakes and lizards. And I think that really helped me to get into Moore Park as a stepping stone, because they were looking for people with that reptile experience. And then once I was in Moore Park, then it was like, okay, and now you have access to all of these animals. What are your interests? And by the way, you're going to work with a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
We want you to have this wider base of experience. And, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that, because you learn from every species you work with, right? As much as I love cats, as much as I know you do, it's the variety. It's very hard to pick just one. But yeah, so I was very grateful for all of that, to get into Moore Park, to let that dream finally come to fruition of getting to work with exotic cats like African lion named Chad and a mountain lion named Buck. Those were amazing experiences. And after I graduated from Moore Park, I was kind of offered a dream job. The director at the time at Moore Park at the college was Dr. James Petty.
Mhm.
And he said to me, only because Gary Wilson, who was the longtime director there, had taken a sabbatical. And
Right.
so Dr. Petty had been our director or veterinarian, obviously the DBM there for many years. And so he said to me, I was kind of known at Moore Park in my class for being the cat gal. And he said, so the circus is looking for a tiger trainer. You want to go to the circus and train lions and tigers? And I was like, do I want to go to the circus and train lions and tigers? And I was like, there's something about my more conservative upbringing that I can't join the circus. And look, that's no knock to the circus. I kind of wish I had gone back in time and done that, because it sounds like it would have been a tremendous adventure that I would have absolutely adored. But I didn't join the circus. And I ended up working for a small conservation education company in LA called Wildlife on Wheels, to where I took a lot of really fun animals to really upscale birthday parties in Beverly Hills,
Uh-huh.
where I think parents are really showing off more for each other than they were for their 1-year-olds having their
Right.
parties. And they would insist, bring the alligator, bring the serval, bring the monkey. And I get why they wanted those animals there. But I'd always say, hey, can you let me bring the miniature horse and the duck and the lop-eared rabbit? And they'd say, no, we're
No,
really
no,
not
no.
interested in those animals. And I would bring them anyway, but I would bring the exotics that they wanted. And inevitably, the showstoppers for the little toddlers were the domesticated animals
Yeah,
that I had
always.
bought. Right? And that you could just allow to be there, and the kids to pet and fawn over, and they were fine with it. And the screaming monkey and the hissing serval and the scary alligator would make them cry. But yeah, I guess those were impressive animals to have at those parties. And I was, able to make enough money, I think, to eat one cheese sandwich a month, but I was single, so I would go date to get dinners. That's a big thing. And the owner of that facility said to me at one point, and this was a very short period of time after graduating Moore Park, and I'd only worked there for a handful of months at this point. And she said, we're going to get 2 mountain lion cubs, and we're going to have you train them. And again, I had this like elation of how amazing and petrified. Like, I don't know that I'm going to do this right. Like, even with my experience from Moore Park, this is a huge responsibility. And I
Yeah.
don't want to mess it up. And I still feel like I need mentorship. Like, I need somebody to help me. And there was another colleague that worked there, and he had come from a background of cat training. And so I went to him, and I mean big cat training, obviously. And I said, hey, so you used to train lions and tigers, free contact, so you can help me with these mountain lion cubs, right? If we're going to get these mountain lion cubs, I'm in charge. I need help. And he said, oh, no. If you don't use it, you lose it. I can't help you anymore. And I went, oh, again, this sounds terrible. What am I going to do? I don't want to blow this. And so I was really torn what to do. And at that time, luck again. I mean, I cannot say how many times you have to be ready to jump on the opportunities, right?
Mhm.
And you have to watch for them when they come. And so I'll give myself credit that I could jump on an opportunity, and I was watching for them when they came. But boy, there is luck to the timing of things.
Well, and here on that note, let me interrupt real quick.
Please.
So, in full transparency to anyone listening or watching, I was in Moore Park also. Janet was my first year. She was 1 year behind me. And I've been fortunate enough to go back and teach as a part-time instructor there for several years in a row. And I go up there once a year for a lecture for the students. And this is one thing I always talk about, exactly what you're saying, is that concept of luck. And there's this old saying that luck is simply preparation for unknown opportunities. So when the opportunity does cross your path, you fall into it and you're ready for it. And so these times you have cited luck, I think it is worth acknowledging that although yes, it was luck, you were actively looking for opportunities and preparing yourself sometimes for the unknown opportunity. And so when it showed up, or you're having a discussion with someone, or you overhear something, you pounce on it, you jump on it, you're ready for it. Even if you're not 100% ready, you still know take action and follow through with it. So I want to mention that simply because you've mentioned luck so many times in your path. But it can feel like that. Like I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't plan for this, but you can look back and go, I was actually preparing myself for an unknown opportunity. So go ahead with your story. I just want to drop that in there because you're right. It is part luck, but it is also being aware of those opportunities and then taking action on it.
Yeah, and just realizing what you can gain. When you close yourself off to those opportunities, it's, not
Right.
allowing you to grow potentially. So, yeah. So out of the blue, I get this phone call from the director of Moore Park College, Gary Wilson. And he says, Hey, so I got a phone call from this woman, Catherine Hilker from the Cincinnati Zoo. And she runs a program called the Cat Ambassador Program. And she's looking for somebody for just 8 months to go to
Mm.
Ohio and work there with cats. And I thought, wow, that just fell in my lap because yes, I mean I knew this. My current employer wants me to train these cats for them that are very high level animals, obviously, and I don't want to mess it up. And Catherine Hilker from the Cincinnati Zoo, I've never worked for an accredited zoo, and she's got this program that is very unique in the industry that works free contact, all types of species of wild cats. Eight months, I can do anything for 8 months. I'm
Yeah.
there. So I did. I jumped on a plane. I went to Ohio, and there I met Catherine Hilker, who is the embodiment of a human cheetah. She is a cheetah. And that is really where my career started, is with Catherine Hilker in the Cincinnati Zoo. And I
Mhm.
owe, I mean, so much to Catherine Hilker in Cincinnati. Yeah. And again, that was my introduction to cheetahs, which who knew that that would be a 30-year path for me. I never could have predicted.
We
So
crossed paths again after Moore Park. You were at the safari park here in San Diego, and I was down at the zoo. That was, I think, the next time you and I crossed paths, and I kind of caught
yeah.
how you got there versus how I got there and all of that.
Mhm.
And I want to just say for those listening, and the reason I asked you to be on this podcast, not only because we know each other through profession and personal lives, but in all the years that I worked as someone coordinating off-site animal presentations that involved a wide variety of animals in a wide variety of environments, even, traveling cross country sometimes, when we had to have a cheetah team with us, the team was always just so incredibly good. And the cats responding so well, the trust that was there amongst the team members and the cat trusting the humans. But I've got to be completely honest here. The reason I want to talk to you on this podcast is because it never ceased to amaze me that when it was you, the level of connection with the cat, the level of understanding, the tiny little details you read in a heartbeat and made adjustments for were, I mean, at a whole nother level. And I don't just say that to flatter you. It is true. I remember multiple discussions with people across the organization that it was like, if we had, if we need somebody in a pinch who's going to do it right in a hard situation, I would like, yes, get Janet, and I want to talk more about that in the sense that you had this incredible start. And these opportunities kept coming up for you to build on that. And know what? There is a level of innate, and you know this from training many people yourself. There's a level of innate understanding of connecting with wildlife, reading that body language, knowing and anticipating the animal's behavior and attitude and character enough that I know that that little leaf blowing the wrong direction or making that little noise is going to bother this guy, but the other guy I work with, not going to bother him at all. He could care less. Every little detail like that.
100%.
There is something about individual humans that some get it better than others. It comes more naturally for some, but it is a learned skill also that develops over time. Was there ever in the beginning stages for you working with these big cats, whether it was Cincinnati or here in San Diego, where you kind of felt that shift where it's like, okay, I'm going from, I don't know if I can do this to, I know I understand this. Because I feel like that for me personally, working with wildlife, there's those moments where you're still kind of learning and like, okay, am I getting this right? Am I reading that body language? And there's moments in where it's like, okay, I know this very well. I'm very present with this animal and this individual, and I'm comfortable and confident enough in my skills. Do you remember, or can you look back on and go, yeah, I think it happened about here for me with working with cheetahs or any individual cat for that matter?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I really appreciate one of my favorite animal trainers, Steve Martin. I think he kind of coined this idea of there's our science and then there's the art,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. There is a behavioral science, and that is where you can get your book knowledge, and it's pretty black and white. Undesirable behavior, desirable behavior, the function of behavior, what motivates behavior. You
Right.
know, all of these ideas, what quadrant of reinforcement are we going to use? These are concepts that are, although very new. I mean, B.F. Skinner, 1960s, this science is still
Yeah.
so new that we all have to be open to the evolution of it. And if
Yes,
nothing,
exactly.
I still see myself as completely a student of behavior. So to that end of, having a comfort with animals and wanting to be with them, I think first of all, I've always seen myself in the back seat to the animal. Like
Hmm.
they are really my focus and my interest, and it's not about me. It
Right.
is about them. And so even though no, I cannot be inside their mind, I'm constantly looking at every situation as, what's that animal thinking? What is their motivation? You know, what would they hope to get out of this? What would the positive outcome be for them? And then how can I best facilitate that? So from going from more of a to your description of more second nature for me, that probably happened sometime under Catherine's tutelage. To
Hmm.
see her work with the animals, when you see another expert do what they do, and you just go, ah, that's it, right? Again, very fortunate in my career to have those opportunities and to work under Catherine, who was a cheetah. So I don't think she even, what are you thinking? Because I think she thought the exact same things as cheetahs at every moment. Um, and to see, her skill, and at the end of the day, working with these true professionals that know, you keep a level head. At the end of the day, here we are. And so we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this to the best of our ability. We're going to have the best outcome possible. And just staying level headed to that, it's very helpful to see skilled individuals do that.
Yeah.
And again, I have this incredible list of mentors that I've gotten to work with, that you've gotten to work with, I've gotten to work with you, and to see it in action just helps you to reaffirm that you can do it. You can get there. We're going to get to the end of this positively. Um, and that there's positive relationship to build and gain. And, just to go through, you get it. But again, I can't think of a moment where I said like, oh, I've got this and I don't worry anymore. But I'll tell you, I don't worry when I walk into situations with animals, even now working for private zoos more and doing consulting. I'm walking into scenarios with animals that I don't know at all. I might know the species, it happens to be cats a lot that I work with. And so I might understand again that black and white, that textbook that you could read. This is how this cat survives. These are their adaptations. So this is what their drive is. And I can know those things. But I'm always taking a back seat and I'm learning in the moment. Who is this animal? What are they responding to? And I give that my full attention, and I always feel pretty confident. The other thing that I have to be clear, Rick, when you work with cats, and one of the reasons I love working with cats, very different than working with people that I spend a lot of time working with now, is that cats are completely honest and they wear it with no poker face.
Yeah.
It is right up front, right? And there is no ego here, Shiva. I am here to make your world as good as I can make it. That is my only context to being here, right? I have nothing to prove. And I want your success, right? I think as animal behaviorists, as anybody working with any animal, wild animals, cheetahs, people, the second your focus is what I don't want you to do. Don't want you to do this. You are in the weeds. You're already in a bad place, right? We don't want to, that's not our thought. Our thought is, what
Yeah.
do we want to happen? What are we aiming for? How are we getting there? So when you're too distracted by, woo, this could go badly, ruh-roh, I don't want you looking at that. That's not where you want to be. Yeah. And so I learned that pretty early on. And again, I'm just fascinated and all in on that positive connection with the animal.
So let me ask you this on the heels of what you just said. I have my own theories on this, having worked with small cats. I've not worked with big cats like you have. I worked with small cats and other, carnivores and parrots. And my career went more the route of a lot of different species, and I loved every minute of it. But even working with a parrot or an ocelot, or in your case, cheetahs, and what you just said, focusing on what you want for your outcome, not focusing on, oh, this is a concern, that's a concern. For me personally, I have believed or interpreted that not only is my focus on what we want to have happen, so that's where I want to shape things to go, but also it's been my experience working with other trainers and people connect with wildlife. If your energy shifts to the I'm concerned about that, I'm not sure about that, I don't want that to happen, that translates in our body language. So to what you said, the cheetahs are wearing everything right up front. There's no poker face. We try to cover it, but there's the subtleties that we don't even realize we're doing, I think. And so for me, it's always been if you like teaching a kid to ride a bike, if you focus on not hitting the tree, you're looking at the tree, you're aiming for the tree, you're going to hit the tree, versus focus on the path in front of you where you want to go. So for me, in my experience, it is that our own energy, body language, and intentions can translate to an animal because it's body language. It becomes very clear. Is that what your experience has been as well, in the sense of saying, I want to focus on what my outcome is that I want, and not focus on I'm concerned about that person over there or that thing over there or whatever it might be?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And as you were saying, in our backgrounds and mentoring others, training others in this profession, you learn, right? Like you said, these are skills that you can acquire. You can be taught these skills. You can learn these skills. You don't come into it as the best leader ever.
No.
None of us is the finished
No,
product of
not
a
at all.
person, right? We're all in process here. But yeah, I remember early on in my roles as a senior trainer or lead trainer or supervisor of training, and being like, walk normally. People, what is that? Now all of a sudden you're walking as awkward as possible, because
Right.
what's normal about what I was doing? And and you learn to say the subtleties, because they don't even realize they're doing it. And you're right, that's where the mastercraft is. I can see it in the animals and I can see it in the people, right? I can read that body language. I can see this dynamic, this unspoken. It's not a sixth sense because it's there, but being
Right.
highly perceptive to those senses, right? And those reactions. And so it's telling somebody, hey, drop your shoulders, because you don't realize you're doing this.
Yeah.
And the animals can catch
Like,
me,
why are you
right?
so tense? What's
Right,
happening?
right. Like when I do that as a predator, when I get rigid,
Right.
I'm about to pounce, right?
Yeah.
That's me getting into position to potentially aggress and probably aggress. So what are you doing? And that might not be our body language, right? That's not what the person is saying. Oh, they're going, oh, like they're probably getting more ready to run. It's, like you and I have seen with people and smiling at primates. Oh, please don't smile at them, right? Like that's a threat. You're showing your teeth. Oh, it is like we're being joyful. We're smiling. This is a happy
Right.
time. So yeah, understanding those subtleties and being able to help others and everyone that's worked with me will tell you this quote, this Janet quote, fake it till you make it. Drop those shoulders. I know
Yeah.
you're not feeling like relaxed shoulders right now, but relax your shoulders, right? We're going to drop it. We're going to smile. I'm going to get, as a bird trainer, if we would have a fly off and a bird, one of the happiest places for a bird to be would be in the bough of a tree. And we're right under it going, hey, birdie, birdie. And they're going, great. The person I love is right there. And I'm in this tree and this is super fun. Like
This
I
is
have
great. We're
everything I
together.
want right there, right? And one of the favorite tricks of bird trainers would be like, I'm going to pretend like this leaf over here is super interesting to me. So the bird will come over to me and see what I'm doing. Because when I ask for the bird's attention, it's like, no, I'm going to be over here in the tree. But no, I'm going to be over here. I'm doing this. Oh, this is so fascinating. This is so fascinating. I can't tell you how many times I've used that trick with cats. Oh, this
Yeah.
over here is so fascinating. And the cat was ignoring me. And they're like, okay, what is that? I want to go see what that is too. So yes, absolutely. How our body posture, our body language, where we're expressing our interest. I mean, they follow those things 100%.
Yeah. So let me ask you, shifting gears a little bit here. In all your different cheetahs you've worked with and different big cats, what is like maybe a handful or even just one or two of your favorite things about working with a cheetah?
Oh, well, anyone that has had the opportunity, the good grace, the extreme fortune to be in close context to a cheetah, close enough to hear them purr. It's moving. It's moving. To have 100+ pound cat that purrs like your house cat. And it
A bit
means the
louder
same.
though.
It is. It is. It's a bigger engine.
It is.
And to know, I mean, just the extreme honor that is that you're going to be content in my presence and express that to me, to tell me that, whether it's for me or not. But still, it's that's moving every single time. And the number of times that I've been able to, have these, as you said, it's really about trust. To have this trusting relationship. It is give and take. It is me putting deposits in that bank account with the cheetah and then being able to write the check for something like their medical procedure and them trust me through it and get to the other side of it. Know I'm doing what's best for them, even though they can't possibly know that. I'm just asking them to do a bunch of weird, intimidating things probably, but they'll do that for me at that point. And then to ask them to do something lesser, but I'm using that same trust bond to say, hey, get close to this person that you don't know from a hole in the ground and trust me that they're okay. And they do. And through that relationship that they've had with me, that I've fostered over 7 days a week, more than 8 hours a day for years at a time to get there, somebody else can be that close to that magnificent animal and it brings them to tears. I mean, I've had hundreds and hundreds of people cry in the presence of a cheetah, and that moves me right back. And that's where it really starts, right? It is that connection. And so first it started, with me, with my fascination. I love cats. I want to walk a tiger on a leash, right? Because it's possible. And I want to do that. And then getting to do that. But what's even greater than that, where it gets compounded, is where you get to share that with others and see their love and their inspiration and their compassion that then can be translated to generosity and the actual true conservation work to keep these animals on the planet and to give us something to live for outside of ourselves. Because let's face it, we need to get outside of ourselves a little bit. There's a lot of anxiety in the world. There's a lot of depression. And I think when you give back and you have these connections, that's where you really grow. That's where you really thrive. That's where you really find out what it's all about. So the animals have given that to me in spades. And I have just rejoiced in the opportunity to share that with others.
I want to ask more about that, but I have one thing I want to touch on that you mentioned, and I think it's important just for this conversation and just in general. You mentioned the animal trusting you, and it's one thing I witnessed multiple times working with you and seeing you with the cats. There was a ridiculous amount of trust these cats had in the decisions you would make, and where you'd say, "No, we're good, we're going here, and it's fine." And they're like, "Okay, she says it's fine." Where they potentially could be like, "I'm not too sure about that." What does someone need to do? And I say this not in like the average person listening. What do you do? What do you do to build trust with something like a cheetah? Where does that come from? Where does you were mentioning making deposits in that? I don't need exact details, but how does that happen?
Well, first and foremost, it's the consistency of being there, showing
Mhm.
up with the right attitude again, and letting the animal know that you are going to follow through for them, right? And so it starts out all of us, I think, maybe not anymore, but you and I certainly started by working for free,
Yeah.
right? And just it's that paying your dues thing, but that paying your dues thing is huge in the eyes of these animals. And
Yeah.
there were so many times that I had, and I get it because I don't want anybody to have the exact same climb I had. I hope it gets easier for people. You know, a- and you do want to have a work-life balance. These are all things that everybody should have, right? But people want to walk in and say, okay, I know the cat looks at you because you have the food. So give me the food and then the cat's going to like me.
Right.
Oh, and it's a really hard thing because you don't know what you don't know, and I've been there myself, to try to convince people, no, actually the food isn't magic. It was one of my favorite things to do with guests. So when guests would see me with the animal and they go, first they're like surprised, wow, it listens to you. Why does it listen to you? And then they go, oh, I know. You have food. It's not
You
food.
have the pouch, yeah.
And whenever anybody would say that to me, I would take the pouch off and I would give it to them. You have it now. Does cat still listen to me? Does cat listen to you? Oh, the cat still listens to me. That is, again, all of that background. And you know how it started? It didn't start with me as positive. Pretty much started with me as neutral.
Hmm.
It started with me as not being a threat to this animal, and the animal understanding that I didn't represent any threat, and that eventually I gained this interest to the animal, and I would bring them things that were positive, right? And so you can't expect to go from 0 to 100,
Right.
right? You have to be in it for that grind, and it can be a daily grind. And you have to allow the animal to express some interest back to you. Like, sure, you want to give them reasons to be interested, and the daily care is interesting. They are aware. Oh, you're going to redo my bed. Oh, you're going to bring me my breakfast, my dinner, my toy, whatever those things are, right? But you don't start all in with the like, look, I have all of your wants and desires. Because especially when we work with things like predators, it's a very short line for them to go, yeah, I want those things and you're in the way. So just, I can remove you, right? And it's one of those funny things too, when you look at, especially again, working with cats and people being, very impressed, like, oh, cats, and you still have all of
Right.
your fingers and toes and arms and legs, and you're not scarred to the point that I can see it, right? Right. No, I'm not. And how did you do that? And again, I do that because the animal ultimately has control. I am here to appease you. What do you want to do? What do you stand to gain? How can I help you facilitate those things? And you trust back into me. That's always the perspective it's coming from. And I might, sure, as a behaviorist, have this interest of, ooh, can we get you to do this? Like that would be like, will
Right.
cheetahs can't climb trees, but can you jump into this one and get up high so that people can see you better or something? Like, sure, I'm interested. And again, how does that work? The antecedent, the behavior, the consequence. How does that work? I'm interested in that. But I am not motivated by I am, your master and you're listening to
Right.
me and I am holding the reins and I'm in control. No, 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 no. I give all of those things up willingly and know that like you are the amazing animal and I am just lucky to be in your good graces. And so again, how are we going to work together to facilitate your contentment, because that is truly my contentment. That is truly what I want to get out of this as well.
Yeah, it goes into what it sounds like to me, and what I want to say, and see if you agree. For the average person listening, or someone who's getting into animal training for the first time, it is about heavily investing into the relationship up front, and then letting it naturally grow into a partnership at the pace the animal's comfortable with.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
it's funny when you were mentioning the bait, I've got the food, they don't have the food, you have the food, now it still listens to me. Early in my career, worked with a binturong who had not worked with a male of our species before. Only it was raised by women, and only had worked with women. And it was sort of like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And he could care less about me. He's like, oh, you've got the food, you've got the leash. Okay, sure, I know what to do. I wasn't asking for anything new. I was, just getting worked up on him. And we worked together professionally, in the sense that I always say he tolerated me because I had the food. But he, as far as relationship, it probably took 4 to 6 months. And then he initiated, and I let him do it. I wasn't pushing it. He initiated a play behavior, which I had seen him do with those who had raised him. So I recognized it. I'd shadowed long enough. I recognized the behavior. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And from that day forward, when he initiated the next level of our relationship, at that point, started to slowly grow into a relationship that was beyond just doing the daily work, and became then a partnership, and I saw him through the end of days. And, it was one of those things where that partnership then was so important as he went into his senior years and needed medication and stuff, and that trust that was there. So it was funny you mentioned that with the cheetahs, because I remember that with that species as well. It was that there's, okay, sure, I'll put up with you, but then it was the build of the relationship, and then from the beginnings of building into a partnership as well. So yeah, it's so important. And as you were mentioning it too, you used a lot of terminology about, yes, it is the behavior, it's understanding behavior, it's the book work, it's that every little bit of it, but then it's being able to work within the confines of, I'm not doing this because it's what I want you to do. I want you to want to do this. And that's where I think the big shift and that trust then occurs, is like they have that autonomy to a certain degree, that they
Right.
trust you as an individual, as part of their life as well, not just someone showing up with, the food and a leash and saying, okay, we're doing this. So
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, go ahead.
I so respect the animal's choice, and them as an individual, right? Like,
Hmm.
did every person have to get along with every person? No. They have the right to say no. And if you don't accept that right, we can we can do things to try to, of course, impart to the animal that, no, it really could be good for you, right? And to
Yeah.
your point of, like, there's something that we face all the time in managed care, that there have been a lot more mommy figures than daddy figures in a lot of these animals' lives.
Mm.
And so they definitely build discriminators in, and you can't go to HR and report them. You just,
Well, you could, but it
um,
won't do any good.
right, we won't do it again. So, how do you build into that? And we could absolutely solidify, we could reinforce an animal discriminating against men, but we would look at it and say, no, I'm not going to do that. But when the time is right, again, from my experience being a supervisor of animal training, there would be a lot of times that somebody would be new to the team, excuse me, and say, hey, I got it. Just, just leave me alone with this animal and the food. And I'd be like, no, 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 no. That's not the way we want to do it. If this animal is giving you a hard no, we're going to accept the hard no, and we're going to see where hard no stops. Does
Yeah.
that cheetah stop hissing at you when you're 20 feet away? Well, let's have you do some raking at 20 feet away, day after day, and then try 15 feet. And does it not hit us? Great. Do your activities there, then 10, then 5, then 0, right? I don't go 0 to 100 with an animal. Anybody that's trained with me will tell you, Janet trains fast. And sometimes I put people in a behavioral hold because I want them to go too fast. I go, oh, yep, that was too fast. And now the animals upset you. And that's my fault because I told you to do that. Right. So that's okay. But yeah, for the most part, I want there to be steady, progressive steps. And I will always stand by that the animal is crystal clear to me if this
Hmm.
is a yes or a no. Like,
Yeah.
we should see these things coming. And again, we don't have a crystal ball, and there is happenstance. Extreme things can happen, especially in this day and age, right? And so we would have to think in those considerations. However, it I was very often not surprised by outcome of behavior, right? I am pretty good at predicting behavior. And I do that from all of the thousands of hours that I put in, like you said, of observing others that have done it with
Mhm.
this animal, observing this animal itself, and then my taking the appropriate steps that were given a green light by the animal to do to progressively continue. That's building trust in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. So important to really let them lead the way when it comes to what the steps
Yes.
are in progression. So I now want to go back to what you had ended with before I talked about the trust and relationship building. Excuse me. In that you had started going down the path of one thing we had talked about prior before we started recording, which is that being that person or being in that space where because we are the worst person that works with this animal and we work in a space that has guests coming in,
Mhm.
we get to see everyone's face looking at that animal, experiencing that animal up close and personal. We don't even matter. And as we shouldn't, because we're there for getting people excited about wildlife, getting people goosebumps and teary eyed. And because the next step of caring that much is then what can I do to help? And that's where we can steer them towards conservation efforts, et cetera. I want to talk to you about that, though, witnessing that across your career. I know what it has meant for me and what it's done for me, but I want to hear it from you as someone who has not only had this exceptional opportunity to work with these magnificent animals for so long, to earn their trust, to bring them into spaces where people who don't work with them get to be close and personal. What has that been like for you to see that, to be beyond the purr and the acceptance of being a teammate and partner with this animal, but then to be able to bring the general public into a proximity where they feel moved because of the presence of your partner?
Right. Well, that really does become everything. That's the only thing that makes it worthwhile now. Because if I look at everything before then, it can seem extremely selfish. Why is this animal here? What is the point? Now, every individual animal deserves the best care possible. And if, it's an animal that I have been entrusted with, I'm going to do everything that I can, ask my family, care of that animal, and probably at a detriment to my own family because you can communicate and you can do whatever you want. I got to go do this over here. This really needs me, right? But there has to be a greater purpose to it, right? And I very much believe in zoos as educational facilities and experiences for people. Again, getting outside of yourself, which can be a stressful place to be, and realizing there's this bigger world of wonder and excitement and magic. I think it's really important for us to expose everyone that we can to that and let them have that opportunity. It's just critical, right? So I'm a big fan of zoos, but I will say zoos didn't start from a positive place.
Right.
Their inception wasn't positive intent. That wasn't. It was, hey, this is a curiosity
Mhm.
and or it's a trophy or this is really how this started, right? And the more we know, the more we evolve, we do better, right? And we're always trying. There's a lot of positive intent there. But again, going back to my strongest mentor, certainly when it came to cheetahs, Catherine Hilger, in 2017, when I was at a behavior conference in Cincinnati, it was the last time I was in her physical presence. And she asked me, are we doing any good?
Mm.
That was a big question from,
Yeah.
pinnacle in this industry. And I said, Catherine, I'm still figuring that out. I know we're trying and I see how we move the needle. So I think we are. I see a lot of positivity there, right? I think we are, but it's a a big, I don't want to call it a burden. It's a responsibility
Hmm.
that we have to these animals, right? And so it does have to go to that next step of um sure, I might have sacrificed a lot of holidays and higher paying jobs
Everything.
and right? And children's events and all of those things, family, yes, 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 yes. To be with those animals. And again, they gave as much to me as I gave to them. Very fulfilling, but it can't just be that. There has to be the bigger reason to why we're
Sure.
doing this, which is the conservation of our wild world and our wild places. I mean, I truly believe if we lose all, well, we can't lose them all, we'll lose ourselves, but in a shorter concept, if we lose it, we lose ourselves, right? We have to get out of the box. We have to step away from the devices. We have to get back to what's real. And that is, to me, these connections with our planet, physically, spiritually. It's very real. So I do know that we are, especially when it comes to cheetahs. I mean, they're a great flagship species to talk about as far as conservation. And I know we'll dive into that more. I know you will. But cheetahs are unique from other wild cats in the fact that they really don't represent a threat directly to people. Still to this day, a wild cheetah has never attacked a human being. I can't say that about a house cat, right? I can't say that about that. I always follow it up to people that are new to that, like, oh, how exciting. Please don't be the first person to be attacked by a cheetah because they could, right? Don't do the wrong thing. That's, don't go after them, give them their space, yada, yada, respect, be respectful of the cheetah. But again, when it comes to fight or flight, they want to move away from you. They're not going to be like a lion or a tiger who, guess what? They sleep for 20 hours a day with their belly to the sky because they know I really don't have anything to worry about. If you do want to really test me, and that's the other thing about cats I love, they don't want to kill you. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I want to kill some guy trying to get a selfie with me. They're going to try to walk away from you like, you're the bee in my bonnet right now. Like, you're annoying. No, I don't need to deal with that. But if you press, guess what? I was given all of these adaptations. Right? You are nothing to me. Flick. As you and I know, and again, common folks that have not had our experiences don't know, you can't even judge a wild animal's power. You are so far off the grid, right? Like you have no concept of their physical ability. And then when you truly see it, you will be awestruck. They will, oh yes, never mind. But cheetahs are unique in that way. So people don't tend to be as threatened by them, want to eradicate them because of a fear, but it's more again, hey, I want to protect my livelihood. And there were great attachments that people could put into our conservation efforts with them to make it work. So there's been incredible progress on the front of conservation efforts with cheetahs and people seeing the positive benefit of having cheetahs around. We still have a ton more work to do, obviously. And as you and I both know, you don't save one species, right?
Right.
This doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's not
right? It's an environment. You have to have a healthy ecosystem. And since cheetahs are an apex predator, a lot of things other than benefit when they benefit, right? So they're a great one to use as an example of we have to do better. We have to do more. We have to save these species. Saving these species saves these environments, and that saves us.
So how does saving the cheetah help someone here in the United States? All right, dear listeners, I do apologize for the interruption. This interview is really, really fun for me, and it goes on quite a bit. Janet and I can talk forever, so I'm going to break into two parts like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. So part 2 comes out tomorrow, January 28th. So if you're listening to this on or after the 28th, it's already out, so you can jump into it if you want right away, or you can save it for later. But the question I left with, which was how does saving cheetahs in Africa help people like somebody here in America? And that question actually applies to anybody living anywhere that's not where cheetahs live. And her answer is really good, and it's in part 2 because it then expands into other things to discuss. So it's a great pausing point right now to break this episode into 2 parts. So give us a moment. wait till tomorrow and you can listen to the other one. In the meantime, if you do want to catch up with Janet, check out what she's doing, all of her work. There's links and information down in the show notes as always. And then you can find me, zoologyrick.com is my website, at zoologyrick anywhere on social media for the most part. Connect with me there. And of course, this podcast has its own little Instagram handle as well. That's its only social media right now because I only have so much time in the day. But if you want to, you can connect and catch up there as well. So with that, I will simply wrap it up with have a good one, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.